Hello everyone, we are live, and as I kind of set up, I'll be keeping my eye out for my co-host, since this is one of my authors' chats of the week, and I know he's running just a couple minutes behind schedule, so we'll get together and get things going accordingly when he's ready. And we'll be talking about books, writing, publishing, and everything in between. Haha, set it up correctly because I have my cool t-shirt on today. But this week has been kind of I don't know, I feel like I've been saying this a lot lately. These are good things that I have had back-to-back weeks of lots of things occurring all at once, and so I feel like I'm chronically behind because of that. This week, yesterday had a shipment of my paperbacks for my newest book, The Hardest Into Many. Let me see, where did I stick you? Oh, you're right here. Ooh, this beautiful book. Inverted. That's going to weird me out now. Lovely. So I just got my paperbacks in, and I have yet to stock my bookshop with them. I'll be doing that hopefully by Monday, or some point Monday, because of course it had to happen over a weekend where I have functions to deal with. But I have those in, which is nice. The hardcovers will be coming in about a week and a half, and that's really neat because I love being able to distribute all my books accordingly, and the fact that this one released recently and I always have to wait for my author's copies, that's always a bummer, but no, I at least have the paperbacks in. And then this morning I woke up to the news that my latest audiobook released, which is for Sarah's Clause, and that's a dark shifter fantasy for new adults, that age bracket, and that's really neat because I've been waiting for that one for a few years. I'm not even kidding, but that's because I've been working with a whole voice cast, and it has sound effects, and it has background music and all this kind of stuff, so it's really, really cool and a little different than I think the average audiobook, at least the ones that I've been able to produce so far, but it is so neat, and I'm super excited, but won't be able to start really promoting the fact that it's been released until next week, which is another one of those things that had happened on a Friday when I've been doing all these other things. Anywho, let me keep my eye out for my host. I know, like I said, he's running a few minutes behind, but then we'll get things going. But as for everybody who's out and about and chiming in, what are you reading right now? Because I have been working through trying to catch up with some more iconic fantasy, and so I'm working on Drizzt Homelands, the first one, and yay, hi Dominic. I just saw that you messaged me. I haven't had a chance to respond, I apologize, but yeah, so that's what I've been reading, and it's my first true D&D literature book, but it's really kind of cool because I've played D&D before. I kind of know, a little bit about it, and I like the overlap between fantasy readers and TTRPG games, especially D&D. And so that's why, since one of my goals is to write a D&D like fantasy. It's kind of more like D&D smooshed with The Witcher and stuff like that. And so I'm working on the world building for that future series right now. So part of my fun research is reading other D&D literature that's in the dark fantasy side of things, which Drizzt's supposed to be. And I'm about halfway through the first book and been enjoying it. Be reading Mythos by Stephen Fry. I'm on Heroes now. Ooh, that's cool. So is that kind of I was going to say, like, not an anthology, but maybe an anthology. I don't know much about Mythos. You have to let me know. But that sounds really cool because, I don't know. I will admit, I wish I could. Actually, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing I can't remember the title of this. It was a TV show. I just stumbled upon it. And it's all about Greek myth. And I was like, okay, I love Greek mythology. I've read a lot of it. And let's see how this one goes. And I will admit, I was thoroughly disappointed because the person who put it together definitely was slanting the stories the way they wanted to slant them. And I was just like, but we're missing out all this other facts. All these, I just have my thing inverted. It's going to be weird now. I'm seeing myself move backwards. Anywho, but it was just, I don't like when someone's trying to tell you a fact-based scenario and then they're slanting it because they want to make certain points for whatever reason, and that irritates me. So I kind of got lost. I just stopped. I was like, no, this is not for me. If you're going to talk about mythology and actually talk about mythology, do it true, give it justice. Let's talk good, bad, ugly about everything. but that was a show that I just stumbled upon. Anywho, it's a retelling of mythos Greek pantheon, scientific approach to it. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. Let me again skim, just make sure my co-host isn't live at the moment. So sorry if I don't see messages for a moment. Because like I said, I know he's about, I think he said about, about going to be 10 minutes a little late, but that's okay. Anywho, but no, that's really neat. I love anything to do with mythology, and I've been collecting over years all the kind of anthologies, encyclopedias of mythology, again, all the source material, and I have my housewarming party tomorrow, and so I've been scrambling to get everything ready, and I finally started moving things around and don't have enough shelf space even in my new house for all the books, and so I had to decide what sections of books were going to go where, and I was like, I have to have all my I call them reference books, all the encyclopedias of mythology, anthologies, the sagas, the Eddas, Iliad, Odyssey, all that kind of stuff. I was like, those have to be on the main floor. I have to be in easy reach, and so I kind of set them up, and I could not figure out, I don't know the best way to set those up. First I was going to do them by eras of history, but then there's so many populations of people and their mythos happen simultaneously, and then I was like, well, do I go maybe from continent to continent? I don't know. I was trying to figure out, how do people organize their books? Let me know that one. Because I've never figured it out. I have some weird ways of approaching organizing my books on my bookshelves, unless, I mean, these are simple because they're my own books, but my other bookshelves. Anywho, but yeah, it's Friday. I'm so excited. Last book is due in September. Cool. I love that. But yeah, it's Friday. I'm super excited that I have a good excuse with my housewarming party to take a break this weekend. But of course, everything has to happen at once. So yeah, I have to write a little bits here and there. ADHD to the max. I understand. Hi. I don't have ADHD, but I know a lot of authors who deal with it, and they, everybody has to work around and figure out what method works best for them. And so bits at a time, but that means you're still writing. Sprint writing is a big thing. A lot of people write it, even if, I'm a person, I like to sit down for a larger block of time, but people like sprints and the little just few minutes of writing stuff here or there. That helps them a lot and allows them to get their stories down on paper when you have a busier schedule. Because not everybody has the luxury of spending a whole day sitting down in front of a computer writing. I tentatively am a full-time author and artist, and I don't have the luxury of sitting down at a computer writing all day because there are so many other things to do. Including mentioning new audiobook just released today. Paperbacks of The Hardest Sin to Manny arrived yesterday, and I haven't had time to do any kind of promotional information and stuff because those take time to make. Videos, posts, but they're important. I kind of wish I had someone working under me to kind of help me with my author career. I've done that before and it really did help, but finances, time, money, all that kind of fun stuff. I just want to write fun things, guys. But yeah, so that's cool. So what is everybody's favorite mythology? I love asking that one, especially when you have a big group of people coming in, and just always curious what everybody's favorite mythos, because I'm wrapping up, hopefully, this year, my Nordic retelling, Dark Nordic retelling, The Guardian Speaker, and my last 3 novellas are slated to release later this year if all goes well, and then I get to move on to other things. And so my brain's always working on all these different ideas and different stories. I'm trying to decide which ones do I tackle next. And retellings are fun. The way I like to do a retelling is, I know certain people, especially fairy tale retellings or folklore, they like to twist things and retell it in a new light. I like to take obscure myth and shine light on it. So things like storylines that people may not be familiar of, the ones that aren't talking about Hercules, and the ones that are more iconic, those are the ones I think are fun to write because the stories are kind of there. They just need to be, brushed up, fluffed up, and repackaged just slightly. Just slightly. Greek is great. Greek. Oh, I was looking. Okay, here's a fun fact. I live in southeast United States, and there is a bird. Sorry, there's a point to this. There is a bird called Phoebe, and I found out yesterday, and I thought I knew a lot of Greek myth and Roman myth, that Phoebe, the bird, one of the theories it's named that way, is it's linked to its alternate name, Phoebe, and is an alternate name to Diana, which is a Roman goddess of the moon and the hunt, who was Rome's version of Artemis, which is from Greek myth, if that makes sense. Diana, Rome, Artemis, Greek, Phoebe is a side tangent of Diana. And I was like, the bird doesn't really remind me of a moon goddess, but that's fine. One idea people thought. Anywho, real world mythology. Oh, hi David, there we are. I'm getting ready to roll. Let me send him my invite. If he sees it, I have to do a couple taps. I never know if, I see it sent. Perfect. Oh. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, I hear you. I don't see you at this moment in time.
Figure that out.
It always takes people a moment, and I know if I'm the one who's being invited into things, I fumble around for a moment trying to figure out, and I never remember how to do this.
Honestly, I think the last time I went live was when I was talking with you, so it's been a while.
It's okay.
Oh, man, I don't even know how to do this.
Let me see. I think are there like little dots or something that you press and it gives you options? I don't remember. I'm sorry. We'll figure it out. I can hear you. That is the important part, which means everybody else can hear you, hopefully. But how have you been doing?
I've been doing pretty okay.
Okay?
I had a lot of life stuff going on lately, so writing kind of took the back burner.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, I was right before I sent you the invite, I was mentioning how, even as a full-time author and artist, they all complement each other, but I still don't have enough time to sit down and actually write the book because, one, you have life. Two, there's always something else that needs to be done, so it is fun.
I think I got it.
Hi, we got it.
There we go.
Hey, I see a Loki Odin's son. Hi, Loki. If you like Norse mythology, I do have a dark fantasy series that's also a dark retelling of Nordic myth, The Guardian Speaker. Just throwing it out there for a Loki Odinson fan. Anywho, how are you, David?
Good.
And we are here. So I want to know, in this interim of time since the last time we've done a live together, and it's been a moment, what bookish things have you been doing?
Okay. When we talked last here on TikTok, I was in the middle of rewriting the first book I had published with my former publisher, and I had just launched my publishing company, and everything was all in the beginning stages. I was trying to figure things out and figure out what the next step was for moving forward on my own, and so that's where I was a year ago. And in December, I published my first book. I changed the name and the series title. This is the book now, Darkness in a Sea of Stars. The series is called Epithanor.
I love
And
it.
it foretells, or it's a story that follows the prophecy of a coinciding destruction of Earth and my fantasy world of Honduras. And so that first book published in December, and since then I have been working on the second book, and as well as my epic fantasy that was previously published by my former publisher. That one's still in like draft phase. I'm not really working too hard on that. I'm just focusing on getting the second book done.
Hey, I get that. And that's the thing, is like when you're an author that has multiple projects, you do have to decide which one you're going to allot the majority of time, because as much as you want them to be equal, it kind of doesn't work that way for most people. And to answer your question, Loki, this one is just a author chat with my co-host this week, and I do them weekly with other authors, but sometimes I'll do solo dolos, and then that's a different story. Anywho, back to you. But yeah, no, that I totally get that, and that is exciting that you have multiple projects going on essentially, because rewriting, you're pretty much, I don't know how many people who are jumping on know you that well, but when you stepped away from your publisher, one of the things, if I recall correctly, was because when they released it, it was not up to par from what you wanted it to be. And so now you're able to take your work back, rewrite it, and remaster it essentially to be the release, the author's release of the works, to make them, as good as you wanted. Is that correct?
That's correct. And to avoid all kinds of confusion of like, is this the same book that I read? That's why I went through and did the renaming of the book titles and the series title, just so that there's no confusion moving forward.
And that's the smart thing to do also, because it's hard to take a work that has been published and republish it without people being like, I've already read the book, I know what it's like. And you're like, but you don't actually. So the whole rebranding, it's a big thing. And I saw the comment saying about starting to write with tips, tricks, and advice. And for my authors chats and writers chats and bookish chats, if you want to be on one, just reach out to me on the side. I also have signups on my website. But yes, yeah, no, it was a huge thing for you to step away and a big jump. So how is it feeling now that you are in the indie world and you have, the book you released and you're about to do a second of that series? Like, how does it feel?
It feels absolutely amazing. Like,
Welcome.
my book is out. It is the way that I want it. I do not feel the need to go back and do anything with that book. And I think it's safe to say that book is done. So moving forward to the next ones, trying to get the rest of the series out. That's the next goal. And just taking it one book at a time.
That's great. And that's the way, I think a lot of authors should, because again, juggling projects is hard, taking one book at a time. That's the way I recommend. What I recommend is not what I do, but it is what I recommend. So I have to acknowledge that one, because it can get complicated. But okay, so for the series, how many books are you planning? Do you have, it's exactly this number? Or are you going to be one of the authors that are writing and we'll see where it ends? It'll end when it ends.
I think it is pretty set at 4 books.
Nice.
It may drop down to a trilogy depending on how the third book goes, but I'm pretty confident it will not be any longer than 4 books.
Okay.
It's a pretty set course for the story, and I don't foresee any detours or anything like that along the way. Depending on how thick or slim I make the third book will determine how the fourth book comes along. But right now, I'm calling it a quartet, and that's what I'm sticking with.
I like it. And I have a question for you. It's, where can you get the book?
My book is currently only available on Amazon. I have not gone wide with it yet, so it is available in ebook, paperback, and hardcover on Amazon.
Hey, and that's kind of how I started, and I, towards the end of last year, started not really being a true wide yet. That is still something I want to move toward. Life keeps jumping in my way for that one, but did take the step and started selling direct, which has been really neat. And so that's nice, because I can distribute to people, because there are some people in the world that just don't want to support Amazon, and I totally get that, and they want to, or they listen to, audiobooks of a different format, or e-readers of a different format. And so it's nice to be able to reach a wider audience. But the truth of the matter, for anybody who doesn't know, Amazon pays the author the highest cut, how do we want to word this, than some of these other platforms do. And so a lot of authors do choose to go either there first, or, always include them, because they may not treat authors necessarily right, but they treat them better than other places.
And they're very forgiving as far as things you want to do with your manuscript. Mm-hmm. So one of the issues I had with this book is that when I was a kid, I read Aragon, and in Aragon, the page numbers were on the sides of the pages. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted that for my book. And so to do that, I had to format it in Microsoft Word. And as you know, Ingram Spark will not let you submit a manuscript that has been formatted using Microsoft Word. So that completely cut out Ingram Spark as far as going wide. So I just haven't had the time with everything going on lately this year. I just haven't had the time to explore other options of going wide. But I do have author copies that I have been selling to people who reach out to me.
No, okay, see, that's a good thing, because that was the thing is, I love to collect signed copies. I think there is a bunch of us that do, but I love to collect signed copies, so when an author's like, I sell direct, I'm like, okay. Now we know. But yeah, no, that's really cool. And the formatting thing, I did not know, one, that Word could do the little side thing, which is really cool. Two, I also didn't know that Ingram Spark, because again, haven't made the step to go wide. So I didn't check that one out, because I've also used Word in the past. One of the things that I wanted to do this year, I made it to baby step, like 0.01 or whatever, where I've downloaded and purchased the program Atticus to help with formatting. But I haven't had time, because I'm always running around like crazy doing all the projects, to play around with it. But I want to see what Atticus's functionality can do when it comes to formatting, and if I remember and think about it too, man, again, this inverted thing is weird. I keep coming off screen. Anywho, check that out. I will let you know what this inverted thing is. I just wanted my shirt to be seen for once, because I was like, I had a cute bookish shirt. Okay.
That's an awesome shirt.
And now I'm paying the price. Anyhow, but no, that's really cool. Ah, man, I have to go look at my Aragon and see if I pay attention to the page numbers, because I did not recall that. So that is a really neat thing. And it's fun, those little details that an author, a publisher, a formatter puts into a work that separates them from the average, the average, whatever you want to consider average book. They catch people's attention and stuff, and it could be maybe the font for a drop cap or a little embedded image, but those things do catch people's eye.
Exactly. Yep. And I wanted to go in with my style, and like I did download Atticus when I started formatting and doing things on my own. And like you, I haven't had much time to go through and dabble around with it and figure out all that it could do. So far I've only really done like my the beta reader copies by formatting in Atticus, and my ebook was formatted using Atticus. But aside from that, I haven't really done a whole lot with it.
More than me.
The little bit that I have looked around in there, it seemed like there was like a limited amount of fonts that I could choose from. And I don't like the feeling of being limited, or like having like everyone is picking from the same pool of options, so like my book will look like someone else's. Or not that it's a bad thing, but like you said, I wanted my style to stand out. And so by being able to get my own fonts and have my page numbers on the side of the books, which Atticus could not do, that I felt like was my style, and I wanted that to like be like the flagship book to represent what the publishing company would become.
Nice. Yes, I made some notes about checking if they can upload fonts, because I know they keep. I met some of the people from Atticus, and I know they were trying to, do new updates and other kind of stuff. So I don't know what they've done, especially since you've started playing around with it. And again, I have not. I have like zero knowledge. I haven't used it, but to check and see if they would allow you to upload fonts that you own. I wonder if that's something they would let, or embed them in some way. Right. So things I've made notes to check in. But I see a question popping up. It's asking, what inspired you to write?
So what inspired me to write was basically not finding the story that I wanted to read. So growing up, and even today, I still love fantasy. Like that's my first and foremost passion. But I like spaceships in my fantasy. So like the movie Thor: The Dark World, to me that is like the perfect dark fantasy story. It's got the fantasy elements, it's got the starships, it's got the multiple planets, the traveling to and from planets, and like that's totally me. Whenever someone asks what I write, I tell them, you've seen Thor: The Dark World. That's the kind of stuff that I write.
I've heard a genre being thrown around called science fantasy and I think, again, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's trying to figure out, like, how can you fuse fantasy elements and sci-fi elements together, and so they're not so cut and dry and separate. But I could be wrong. I could be very different. But, that's what it makes you think of, because you're not the only one. I've heard a couple other people say, I like putting them together and trying to see what happens, because I guess if you really want to think about it, I'm not a sci-fi expert, but Star Wars, because you have magic in it, they're very, very, very small bits of magic in a very, very techie society, but still magic is in it. So it's almost like a subtle fusion, but on the other hand, you could do the other way around, have dragons in space.
And they have whales in space, so it's not too far out there to think that there could be dragons in space.
Yeah. It's the metaverse, the multiverse is your oyster. But yeah, for me, I always knew that. Well, I guess I always was a storyteller. To answer this question, is always was a storyteller. Always created characters and worlds and backstories. And the funny thing is, I've said this before. I'll pull it up. Ugh. So the funny thing is, when I was growing up with my sister, we lived in a very rural area of Georgia, and so we created, all these characters, and essentially created a multiverse. Didn't know the word at the time, and I always wanted to share those characters, those worlds, those scenarios with other people. And at a very, very young age, was like, I'm going to publish books one day. Knew it. It was, one of those children logics that's like, it's going to happen. I don't know how, don't know why, I just know it's going to happen. And though I started with a different series, I finally been able to roundabout get back to those stories. And that was the book. I had the 4th book of that series that just released. But again, magical multiverses. And it has a little bit of sci-fi elements if you think about it, because it's portals and wormholes, but very, very almost high fantasy scenarios.
And when I was looking up the whole science fantasy definition, basically what I was able to learn about that was that science fiction is when you focus on like the tech side of the story, and then science fantasy is where you let the tech take a back seat and then you focus on the fantasy element. So that's why Star Wars is more like science fantasy, because you're focusing on like, what does the ship run off of? How far can it go before it refuels? What kind of energy power does the weapons run off of? No, you've got the Force. You've got starships that you don't ever seem to have any kind of fueling problem, that you can go from one end of the universe and back and not have to worry about gas.
Who's ever worried about gas?
Exactly. And you've got these shields that just like wrap around the whole ship and block anything that comes at it. So when you don't take the time to like explain all the techie stuff, that's when it becomes the science fantasy, and the element of the story takes over.
That's cool. Now I know. The more you know. That is cool. So, okay, so what was your biggest struggle producing your first indie book?
Oh, man.
We have a number of struggles.
I think it was the formatting, like trying to figure out how to take my Word document, because like I said, I choose Word because I have the most freedom to format using Word. And so it was basically just trying to figure out how I could manipulate Word and turn that into a document that would be accepted and be allowed to be printed in a book. Because like the first 5 times I uploaded my manuscript to KDP to try and get a test copy, it kept getting denied because like my margins weren't right, and like my text was just slightly out of the that perforated area is that they don't like anything being in. And finally, like it was like a month and a half, and I finally got it to where it would accept my manuscript and I could get test prints. And then I had to figure out how to do my pictures because I have my maps in there. I've got the galaxy maps, two of them, of my universe in my book. In the front of the book, I can actually show you. I have
Yes. Show me the map.
the solar
Ooh,
system.
cool.
This is our solar system with
Mhm.
Earth. And then in the back of the book, I wanted the map to be the first thing you see in the front of the book and the first thing you see in the back of the book. That way they're easy to reference. And then, so this is my galaxy map.
Ooh, wow.
Yep. And so we are right there. And of course, being Earth and people, we think we're the center of the universe. So I made the map center on Earth. And,
That's neat.
yep. And so trying to get those pictures formatted, um, every time I had a print run, there was like that little bar around the picture on when the book was printed. It was in that cut line or whatever, and it was like the third printing that I did before I realized that I had to format the picture larger than the actual formatting of the rest of the book. And so I had to like go in there and make it so that the formatting for the picture was on just the one page instead of all the way throughout the book. And so that bumped up the size of the pictures so that they would go to the edge once printed. I think that was probably my biggest struggle when doing that. And like I had no teachers. I mean, I had people I could reach out to, but it was just like, you know how it goes, trying to explain things over the phone instead of being there, being able to do it with the person. And I didn't want to reach out to my former publisher, which is, yeah, I'm not doing that.
It's a challenge because okay, indie publishing, yes, we write the book. And then we have to at least, figure out how you're going to do the editing. And I'm an avid supporter of finding an editor. But, you could do betas and just betas and whatever your approach is, but there's the editing and then things that people don't think about. Yes, formatting is a part of it. And it is one of those meticulous, dreary parts for some people. Other people, I'm sure, have fun. I don't know who those people are. They're not me. But then again, right now, I really don't do my own formatting. That will change in the future. Thus, the whole must look into Atticus or something akin to it.
And Atticus is, from the little bit that I dabbled with it, it is very easy. You just have to do like if you write in Google Docs or if you write in Microsoft Word, you just have to have like minimal formatting done. Because when I first took my formatted Word document and put it into Atticus to try and make my ebook, I learned this the hard way, that it's better to format the ebook before you format the paperback and the hardcover, because I literally had to go in and undo every single thing I did for formatting the paperback so that I could do the ebook. My book is, I think it's let's see, 90 chapters long, and they're short chapters, but there's 90 chapters. And when I took that document and I put it into Atticus, it didn't understand page breaks, and it thought that like every time I did next page, it was doing like a next chapter. So those 90 chapters turned into 372 chapters.
Yeah, I have a standalone, I call my secret project now, but standalone project that my goal is, when the craziness of this first half of the year starts tapering down toward the latter half of the year, I say this, it never is really going to be doing that, but I will kind of put it in because it hasn't been edited, it hasn't been formed. I just want to put it in and just play with it on the early stages and just use it as kind of like almost a template and just figure out how that works before I move on. But enough of that. For anybody who doesn't know, who are your main character or characters of your series, and give us a little information about them.
Okay. So, Darkness in a Sea of Stars and the series of Epithanor. My elevator pitch is the chosen one who loses herself on a galaxy-wide quest for revenge.
Ooh, wow.
Yep. So it starts out with an anxiety-ridden high school girl who learns that she has what she thinks are superpowers. And as she's moving along in the book, there's a plague or a pandemic that breaks out on Earth, and it forces them to leave Earth. So in this universe, there's travel between other planets, starships. They discovered an alien starship that they reverse engineered the technology from, and so it sent the world into another space age. And so with this pandemic that's going on, they're exploring colonization of other planets so that if the pandemic gets too bad on Earth, they can guarantee the survival of the human race. And when they're doing this, she realizes that like all these the fantasy stories that she read growing up, because her father is a writer and he had knowledge of one of the planets that was discovered.
Mm-hmm.
He banked on all that knowledge that he learned and wrote books about it. And she learns that these books were actually real
Huh.
and that we're not alone in the universe, and that she, instead of having superpowers, she's actually another race from another planet.
Wow.
And so the gist of the story is Epithanor is an epic battle between the chosen one and a harbinger of death.
Wow, I love that. I need you to come up with pitches for my books because I'm so bad with coming up with these like little snappy. Here you go. So those are nice. I like that.
I definitely drew from the idea of Ragnarok for trying to create my fantasy end of the world.
I do like it. Now I have to ask. So when anybody now again post COVID mentions a pandemic, was this idea come before or after?
So, so it's funny you say that because the book takes place in 2022, and I had actually written the original draft, and it was published in 2017.
Wow,
So I had written all of this before COVID.
that's so funny.
Yeah, and then that was kind of the bummer side of having to rewrite it and re-release it, was
Mm-hmm.
that now my publishing date is 2023. So when people read it, they think it's like, oh, hey, he got the idea from COVID and stuff like that. So that's kind of the downside to having to
That
read.
is, that's so wild. That is neat. Who knows? You predicted it. You have foreseeing abilities. Hopefully, the next thing you see is something better in the future.
I just hope that what I have planned for book 4 doesn't happen.
Oh, okay.
Because if I'm predicting things, I don't want this prediction to happen.
What's fun? That is wild. I love it, and that is eerie.
We'll find
So,
out in the end of the year, because the third book goes back in time, and then the fourth book they come back to the normal time, which is 2024. So we'll find out this year.
wow. I try to play with time in my latest book. It kind of I realized playing with time is not something that I love enough to continue with other books at this moment of time. But I came up with all these charts and everything and these time loops, and it was just like, oh, okay, I'm getting dizzy, and I'm the one writing it.
I don't have it up on my wall yet because I just moved, but I literally have a Charlie Day whiteboard with like just strings everywhere, and they're like all tangled up and everything, just trying to keep my timeline straight. Because the way that I see time is that this has all happened before if you're going into the past. So, whatever you decide to do in the past, you're not going to change anything because it's already happened.
That does help simplify a few things because people always the time loop issue and like people get really into that like meta and I'm like, whoa, whoa.
For me, the timeline is linear, so it only moves in one one direction, and if you go back in time, you're just filling in those steps that you've already done.
Interesting. I like it. I have a question that popped up asking, would you like your book to make it into cinema one day? So would you want it to be a movie, or what are you feeling?
I feel like I would probably be disappointed if that happened,
Mhm.
but I would be okay if it happened.
I'd be okay if, like Spielberg or,
I would definitely want Netflix or Prime to do it because I did enjoy what Prime did with The Expanse
hmm
and what they did with Fallout. I enjoyed that. And then Netflix, I think I've yet to see something that I've been disappointed with Netflix.
My only issue personally with Netflix, I'm going to cough, excuse me, and that is the fact that they are so quick to end a series and not re-up another season, especially if it's like, I get invested and I know that there's more books that they're basing it off, and they're like, oh, we ended at season one. I'm like, oh, why? That's my only qualm about them, is that they're really cutthroat about that. And I was like, Prime, Max, any of these others that I was like, well, I'm game, I'm game. Just look my way, look my way.
If I could choose a director, I would probably choose Dave Filoni. Just 'cause I've been really impressed with what he's done with Ahsoka and The Mandalorian and the other newer Star Wars shows that have come out. So that would probably be what I would choose if it went into cinema. I've got like a whole Dreamcast that I have planned out, and because it's taken me so long to write the series, I have actors that are dying on me. So uh,
I know how that is. It's like I had visions of like characters years ago. By the time you publish and then you start working through the series, especially with the YA series, every time I'm like, oh, you would look like that character, and then they age up, and I'm like, well, it's okay. It's not meant to be yet.
and right now the key actress that I have planned for my main character, Alexis Riddell, um, she was the girl that played the sister in Lock and Key. Are you
Oh
familiar?
yeah.
Yep, I really like that actress, and so if I were to be able to pick the actress to play Alexis, I would definitely pick her.
Nice. Good choice. I like that. How about this? I'm gonna throw you a curveball. So would you prefer it to be a live action, or would you want it to be animated? The
That's a good question. I would probably say live action, just because I feel like they'd be more tempted to do shorter episodes and maybe deviate away from the story if it were animated.
Mhm.
And then they might like tone down the darkness in my books.
I don't know. I've seen some pretty dark animes, but yes, that's fair.
That is true. I was thinking along the lines of like Rebels and Avatar: The Last Airbender, but
I was
I
like going
wasn't
into
thinking
like
like the actual like anime.
Attack on Titan then.
Okay, in that case, I might go anime. I think that they could handle it.
Just a different thing to think about. It's like when everybody asks that question, everybody immediately goes to, okay, live action. I was like, but some people, their stories would look great as an animated,
Yeah.
adult animated flick.
Yeah, I totally wasn't even thinking like true anime. I would be totally cool. Actual anime for my book.
That is great. So I looked up. The hour's starting to speed on by at this point. Let me make sure I ask. Okay, we know now that I'm going to reiterate it again that your books are sold on Amazon as paperback, hardcover, and ebook. Yay! Where else can people find and follow you, like website, newsletter, other socials outside of Book Talk?
So right now I'm working on getting my website back up and running. I'm not very tech savvy, and so when I was trying to take my publisher's stuff off of my website, I did an oopsies and like completely formatted the whole thing with a template example. And so now it's like really crazy, and I just haven't had the time to deal with that. But once that gets up and going, I plan to start doing my newsletter again. But as of right now, I'm only really on Facebook and somewhat on TikTok. Like I said, this first half of the year has been pretty crazy for me, so I haven't done too much on TikTok, but unfortunately, I am on Facebook a lot, and that's probably one of the places that I interact with readers the most.
Do you have a readers group, a page, or both, or how do you?
I'm actually working on that. So my group is called Citizens of the Estrella. The Estrella is what my multiverse is called, or I'm sorry, not multiverse, because I don't believe in the multiverse. My universe is called the Estrella. So my group page for fans of my book, I'm making that the Citizens of the Estrella, and it's where everyone can come talk about the books, stuff like that. That's almost up and ready to go. I was planning on launching that at the same time I send out book 2 to beta readers.
Ooh.
And sneak peek, that's the cover, book 2.
I like it.
And then I am working on setting up YouTube. And so my plan is to eventually read my own books for doing an audiobook. And instead of releasing it as an audiobook, I want to do a YouTube video and then take the audio portion and do a podcast.
Ooh, fun.
Yep. So that's my plan for moving forward with that. So I'm working on getting YouTube ready to go for that. And all my socials is the same thing. It's at David Vissers Books.
Perfect.
Yep.
And the fun things, like, I don't maximize myself on YouTube, but what I do is these wonderful videos where I have chats with fantastic authors like yourself. I repurpose there, and then I missed this week. I just got crazy. It was a crazy week. Do a weekly mini video of some kind of mythological creature being entity from various, mythos from around the world that is a little more obscure because I love fantasy, and why not? But I see also a comment for you saying, love hardcovers and have yours in his cart already. So Loki has your book.
Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy it.
Hey, it's a fantastic cover. It's a really cool premise, and your pitch is spot on. I wish I could figure out how to pitch my books. I ramble. I'm like, well, blah, 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 blah.
Exactly. And like, I've actually had to like write it down and like keep it in my pocket because like when people are like, tell me about your book, I'm like, my book? I wrote a book. I wrote a book. That's right. What's it about? And so, yeah, I just like, I got that elevator pitch down. So when people are like, well, tell me about your book, I'm like, bam, there's my elevator pitch. So, and then if they want more, I tell them more. And then that's when I start babbling.
See, that's when I know people are kind of like business card is not like their thing. But if you did invest in like bookmarks, you could have your one-line pitch on the back with your QR code where it's like people can be like, got it, you want it, here's bookmark, go get your book.
And that's the plan too. I'm actually thinking about doing that and doing what's that called, where you give like a one-liner that like poorly pitches the book. I want to do something like that too for bookmarks. Like, for example, my epic fantasy, my poor one-liner for that is a dragon prince with daddy issues takes over the world.
I need to work on these. I just need more time. Someone needs to give me like a bottled time so I can utilize, so I can catch up on all these cool ideas that I never knew. But no, it's okay. At least I'm putting things out there. New books, new works, trying to hopefully get back to writing and editing and so for the rest of this year, you have your second book coming out, and and then the third one will be next year?
Correct. Yes. The current rate that I'm releasing books is one book a year. And those are planned around December. I'm shooting for December with book 2. we'll see how it goes. I still have to finish up the ending, and then it is going to beta readers at the end of June. So if I can get this ending written before the end of June, we're good to go. If it takes me longer than that, then I might be looking at like a January release.
Yeah, well, I know the idea of every year have my goals of this is when I'm going to release this book, this is when I'm going to do this is going to be a Kickstarter, this is going to be audiobook, and
that's what it is too.
It comes out when it comes out. I'm close, but you're just not spot on. And I did see this question pop up asking, how do you come up with your book covers? So I'll let you go first, and then I'll kind of give a couple examples of mine.
Yeah. So for this book cover, this is actually a scene from the book. And as the book it starts out in Michigan, the state of Michigan, and the pandemic is it's just spreading like wildfire in the state, and they're all banking on getting on this yacht to cross Lake Michigan, and the military has blocked off the Mackinac Bridge, which is the only way you can get out through the upper part of the state. And there's a military blockade at the bottom of the state preventing people from going out. So they're banking on this ferry being able to get them out of the state. And so there's an extraction scene where the Navy SEALs come and get the characters off of the ferry. And that's what this scene is. And there's a part where they can see the colonization station that orbits Earth in the clouds as they're cruising over the lake.
Did you pay someone to make that, or how did you get so now I see how you got the scene in your head, but how did you make it a reality? Who did you hire? How did you find them?
I commissioned the artist to do it. And basically what I did was I went on Amazon and I looked up science fiction books that had an average of 5 stars, and I looked at the cover artists and who did them. And for most of the books that I was finding, they were all done by the same person, Tom Edwards. So I went and looked up Tom Edwards, and he's based in the UK. And we had a chat, and he's been doing all of my covers ever since.
That is wonderful. I love that. I absolutely love that. And see, pause for a second. Oh, there, you're back. But yeah, for me, I've done different things with covers. I have 2 different cover designers for my various series, and for one of these out, for example, for my Dark Shifter series, as far as Claws, I worked with one woman, and it kind of had the similar idea where I told her, I wasn't sure like a scene, but I was like, okay, so I want to express the fact that they're animal shifters, and it's fantasy, and there's battles, so I want weapons included, and kind of gave, an idea of the background. And then we started working on, various templates, trying to figure out, or designs, not templates, designs on like how we can do this so someone can glance at it and hopefully read what I want it to read. Because that's the thing is with book covers, a great way to do is look at the genre you're trying to write in and see what they look like, because you want to be close enough that people look at it and be like, okay, it's this genre for this age, and yet slightly unique enough where people are like, okay, it's not that same book, because that's the trick. And so I've worked with various people. The one for my young adult series, I found because she's done YA fantasy, she was alternative, a non-US version of Six of Crows. And so, she's worked from the big houses and everything, and I loved her kind of style, and I was like, okay, contact her. And again, you kind of figure out, hopefully, find the right person for you, and you work with them and develop a relationship with them. But yeah, each one's different, and I'm trying to learn. I would love to have someone custom paint for like a future one, for my D&D future one, because I think that would work well with that kind of style where it's kind of like a certain kind of art style. But anywho, everybody finds cover designers differently, and it's very neat to hear where you find them. And that's a very smart thing to do your research and then just say, hey, How much are you? Were you willing to consider? Do you have the time? If so, let's talk.
Exactly. And another illustrator that I plan on working with in the future, he actually illustrates Brandon Sanderson's books. I can't remember which country he's from. I want to say Poland, but I could be wrong. But he does very good like dark fantasy and horror illustrations. And so I plan on commissioning him to do the cover for my dark fantasy. It was previously a YA epic fantasy with my former publisher, but since I'm on my own now, I can go dark with everything.
Yes.
So now
Join the dark side.
yep. So now it's going to be a dark epic fantasy, and I plan on commissioning him to do my cover for that book. Something dark. I don't know. We haven't discussed making the cover yet, but we did discuss like time and rate and all that other stuff. So he is available to do my cover. I just got to figure out what I want done.
That is amazing. I love that. That's so exciting. I'll have to pick your brain on cover designs down the line because it is. I do want each of my series to look, true to form, and I write such different series for my Viking fantasy. For adults, I don't want it to look like my YA series at all, and so it's always trying to figure out, the right covers designer for the right project, and things change over the years, and so at some point I have to decide if I need to re-up and adjust what I've been doing, or do I just release special edition covers? I think that would be fun too. Yeah. So, anybody who wants something a little more concurrent or a little different or edgy, I could do a special release cover. That would be fun.
Yeah. And I had actually thought about doing something similar too with the award that I recently won with my book.
Yes, I've been waiting for you to bring that up.
Yeah, so I submitted my book to the Independent Publishers Book Awards, or IPPY, as many people know it by. And I brought home the gold medal in science fiction with my book. It was awesome. It feels like all the hard work that I persevered through last year paid off for doing that. And yes. And I know a lot of people don't like awards and stickers and stuff like that on their book covers. And so instead of redoing the book cover to have that award on it, I had the idea of commissioning a company to make me dust jackets. If people want the dust jacket with the award printed on it, then they could buy from me or from my website once I get it going. And they could either order just the dust jacket or they can order the hardcover with the dust jacket. And that dust jacket would have the award on it.
Sorry, I have this little tester. I don't know why it does it when I host, saying that I have to do these. Sorry if I lost you there. I don't know. It started doing that like about 2 months ago, where if I hit the hour mark, because I set these for an hour or so, it's like I have to slide this puzzle piece into its spot. But because I have the stand, if I mess up with what I did, it's like, you have to try this again. Prove that you are real and still here. I'm like, I'm touching the screen. Sorry about that. I know that was probably weird. But anywho, no, that is such a fantastic thing. That is a great, I don't know, I'm trying to remember, if you get a certificate or anything, but definitely have something in your, office, like right there between Boba Fett and your sword. It's just like have your.
I've got the lightsaber hilts and my publishing company logo right there.
Yep.
And so this is all just like temporary. I plan on just totally advertising the award and everything, and getting a book that's on display forward facing. Little bit better than what I'm doing right there with that one.
Remember, now all your bios can say award-winning author.
Exactly, and I said that to my illustrator too. I'm like, we need to fix the cover of book 2 now to say award-winning author. And now because we're currently working on the cover for the 3rd book, I was like, we can go ahead and put that on that book too. I can put it in everything now.
I know. That is so exciting. Yeah, I was waiting. I was like wondering why. I was like, if you have any special news, which let me actually ask, because we are running toward the end of the hour. If you have any topic that you wanted to cover that you haven't covered, or any question that you want to ask that you haven't asked, and this goes for anybody listening as well, please let me know now. Like book awards are a big thing, sir.
Yep. So I'm glad I was able to announce that. That has been such a great feeling, and it's been a rough year for me this year. I've had so much personal stuff going on, and to get the news of that, like it's just incredible.
That is a phenomenal bit of information. And IPPYP, wait, IPPI? Sorry. I'm going to misspell it. Anywho, they're pretty well-known ones in the indie publishing bracket, so that's pretty cool. And I do see, two questions coming up, and they're big questions, so we can only answer them to the best of our ability. I will be honest, because there's so many components to this. But the first part was, how do you get a self-publishing company, and how does one self-publish?
So the first part I can answer very quickly. I do mine through an LLC. I established an LLC, and then everything I do for the company, everything I purchase, all the stuff that I make is in the name of the company. So that's how you get the self-publishing company. You just make it, get an LLC, make it legit. And then self-publishing, many different ways you can do it. I chose KDP. Lots of different ways. We could go on for another hour talking about that.
That is true. That's why it's the tough. That's the tough one. But yeah, for me, it's like I did the same thing as when I realized I was going to publish. I wanted to make it a true business. This is not a hobby, and so yeah, I went through the LLC route. There are different options, but LLC seems to be pretty standard and the one that most indie authors, at least in the beginning, unless you're getting huge for whatever reason or have something particular, go that particular route. And but as for self-publishing, yeah, there are different ways. KDP is the platform for Amazon, so there are authors who go exclusive through Amazon. That's how I started. That's how David's doing right now. You could go what they say wide, and there are distribution places like Ingram Spark, or people kind of splice around and pick and choose various distribution places. And what they do is they help get you be above and beyond just Amazon. So they can get you in Barnes & Noble, some places outlet into I don't know about Walmart, but I know Target and a lot of these other venues online, and sometimes even into the physical stores. And then there's direct sales, which is now becoming very, very popular. So there's a lot of ways you can do self-publishing, and that would be like, you would have to kind of have a little more specific questions for us to answer better than just this nebulous, you have a lot of options. Everybody's different. I'm going to be different than the next one you ask, because there are so many choices, and it's a little overwhelming in the beginning, I will admit.
Yeah, I was very overwhelmed when I started. I didn't know what steps to take, and so I just reached out to, I know I reached out to you, and I reached out to several other authors that I had followed for a while, just to kind of talk things over, mull things over, see how they did it, and then just basically tipping my toes in and kind of seeing how things went. Because with KDP, you can like upload stuff and get print copies, and you don't even have to publish. You can just put it in there. I mean, you'll have the band on there that says not for resale, but you could totally get books printed off of there without having to actually physically publish it.
Yeah, and then there are other options. Again, there's just beware, there are like different levels of publishing. There's indie, which is truly your own. There's vanity press. Those are the ones you want to avoid. We're not going to get into that too much. And then there's small, mid, all the way to the big trad publishing things in the hybrid, where authors do both, or a little bit of everything, or a little bit of multiple things. So there's a lot of things in the publishing that's not just black and white or one way. But yeah, that's always a hard one when someone asks that to answer. I'm like, well.
And one thing I did learn is that if your contract sounds too good to be true, or the book offer sounds too good to be true, it most likely is. You're not going to make millions off of your first book. Being a unknown author, they can guarantee you all kinds of money, but I mean, it's really just a roll of the dice.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And
popular.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, and I was gonna say if you are a person who's on Facebook, there is a fantastic resource group called 20 Books to 50K is their title. And like they have everything. They have every obscure question it's been asked there, and they have answers and boards and groups, and it is such a resource for the indie publishing side of things. And it's there, just you go and request to join. And on this platform, there are people like Jason Duro who talks and is happy to answer questions, at least from his experience of publishing. He always is talking about something along those lines. And Rebecca Thorne, who does a little bit more on the legal side of things. But both of them are great resources when it comes to stuff like that. Sorry, that was a side tangent. But yes, okay, David, let me turn it back to you for the last couple of minutes. Do you have anything else you want to announce, talk about before we wrap up for the day?
I don't think so. I think we've covered everything, and like you said, we finally mentioned the award that my book got, so that was pretty exciting. Being able to tell everyone that I've been sitting on that for a while.
Well, I'm so glad that you're announcing it here. Remember, next time just come out with it and be like, guess what? I have news.
Oh my God, guess what happened?
Exactly, because those are the big things, and people need to celebrate big things, because no matter how you publish, but like especially for India, because that's all I know, so that's why I say especially, but getting achievements of any sort, or you need to take a moment to reflect and just revel in them, because there's a lot that goes on in indie publishing. There's a lot of things you have to be thinking about and doing, and you get wrapped up in the next project, but you have to kind of pause and be like, you know what's really cool? Someone around the other side of the world is reading my book. You know what's really cool? I just won a book award. You know what's really cool? You know, just take those moments. Yeah. Be proud.
I'll get a big banner and put it up right here. Award-winning author.
Yes, have it on your shirt. Get
I'm
a mug.
An award-winning author. What are you?
I have one random question popping up for final question in the section. X-Men or Avengers, who would win?
X-Men. The Avengers broke up.
It's hard because technically they're both kind of overlap in the Marvel universe, so you never know. We'll see with this Deadpool and Wolverine movie coming out.
I can't wait to see that. I've been looking forward to that ever since Ryan Reynolds teased it.
I mean, he's been wanting that one for years. So the fact that it's now a reality and coming closer, and I just saw a video. I know this has nothing to do with books, but comic books, I guess that's fine. So the fact that there was a teaser for the upcoming movie, they have popcorn, the giant buckets. And they have a custom bucket for the movie. That's all I'm going to say.
Ooh, I am going to have to get that. I collect popcorn buckets and movie cups.
Well, I saw it and I just keeled over laughing with like tears in my eyes. So
that sounds like it's going to be epic.
Okay, well, everyone, I have to go because I have an event tomorrow. Not a work event. I have a housewarming party, but I need to finish cleaning my house. So
I get that.
Because of that, thank you so much for hanging out with me this evening, David. And whenever you want to do another one of these, maybe after book 2 or 3 or whenever it comes out, let me know, because then I can always announce straight away that I am talking with an award-winning author.
Right? Use that as your pitch to get more viewers.
I don't even have to pitch it. You bring people down. That is really cool. So congratulations again, and thank you for everybody who's coming out and chatted with us for this last hour and some change, and we will see you in the near future. My next one of these is Sunday at noon Eastern Standard Time. We'll be back with a different host that day. Okay, everyone, I need to go. Talk to you all soon. Bye.
Bye.